Welcome to round, what round are we? 4?
Yeah.
Welcome to round 4, GX-UK Senior. Here we are at sunny Llandow.
Morning.
Mango Mate Stalker, Mango Mate Hicks over there, 28. And here's the beast. We've come along a little bit early. This is Friday testing. I'm not going to be here for Saturday testing. I have a prior engagement. But anyway, we've arrived 4:45 start this morning. It's Lee and Seth over there. Yay. So we'll see how things go today. Right. Heat 1, practice Friday, going out, testing gearing, see what else we can get. Let's go. Heat 2, hoping for a better rear this time. Let's go. Yes, he's rather a silly boy, isn't he, Tom Stalker? You can see me doing my bit to my GoPro, but never mind. Anyway, we went out in Heat 1, all about learning the track. I have been here before with Club 100, but obviously these karts are different in terms of their characteristics, their handling characteristics, the power, the way they produce the power. So just learning which way the track goes and having a little bit of overtaking practice. We're going to do that here with Tom. We're in the slipstream, and we're going to test how far we can push the braking point. But also we're going to be mainly setting up things like the gearing and also the handling. What I would say in this round was that I'm not particularly quick. I'm missing a couple of tenths, and one of the reasons for that, I think, is that the rear of my car all weekend was a bit troublesome. I've always found throughout this weekend that the rear wasn't sticking. The front was great. The front would go where I asked it to go, but the rear was just not playing ball. And unfortunately, in the last round, we were super quick. Really great round. Great heat results, and I actually started the final in pole. I ended the final in the wall. With a lot of damage, unfortunately, and I had to replace some parts, and I'm having to run different parts, particularly things like the rear axle, to what I was running at Hooton, and that has just unbalanced the kart setup slightly. It's not as quick as it was, and so that's going to give me something to think about. We'll need to spend a bit of time understanding how to get the kart back to where I like it. But anyway, we had a good Friday, and as I mentioned before, unfortunately we weren't going to be around for Saturday. Here's what happened. Yes, that's right. I was required to go to a birthday party. Now, it all started out quite civilised. There we are. We had a couple of drinks, and then we had a couple more, and then things started to get a little bit silly. And by the end of the night, oh God, I was not in a good way. I did not prepare well. And whilst I was doing that, everyone else was doing this, learning the track, doing a great job. And yes, that's right, they did recreate David's finger whilst I was passed out.
All right, it's race day. The only thing I'm going to say is I've not prepared well. Not prepared well. Oh.
Right, so yeah, not the best preparation in the world. We're starting our first heat P17, so that's last of all the novice runners. We've got Russell Endine in the 16, just there on our left-hand side. We're going to see if we can go all around the outside. It's getting very tight. I just want to put this footage in here as well. Look at the size of that grid. Absolutely amazing. 29 runners today. And, huge congratulations to James Purchase, James Cannon, Tyler, and everyone involved in this series, really. Rich Melton Baxter leads us away. Mango Mate Rich, doing a great job in the Gillard there, leading us all away. So anyway, we're back to the onboard footage. Russell Endine just on our left-hand side. I'm going to try and go all the way around the outside of Russell. It's going to be pretty tricky. The 17 and the 16 just rubbed together ever so slightly there, and I'm going to go for a better exit, a better cutback. So we're up the inside of a 17 kart just there, so we're up one position. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get past Russell. That's going to be tricky because he's very, very fast. Sebastian Musica, and I believe it's Connor Botting, just get it together there. So we're up 3 places. Unfortunate one for those guys, though. Not a... never good to overtake people due to their unfortunateness. Anyway, we're up the inside of Russell there. Managed to not slam into the inside of Tim Kansas. So that overtaking practice that we were doing in practice on Friday coming into good use there. So we're 4 places up on our first lap. It's not going to be so easy now, though. The field is beginning to string out. You can kind of see it just a little bit there. And we've got the 79 of Tim Kansas just ahead of us. Ahead of him is our mate Tom Stalker that you saw in Friday practice. We know that he's very quick. Alex Van Gien and Brad Philpott, George Massey, all very quick. I have to say, Brad and George Massey this weekend were absolutely rapid. I mean, George in particular has taken a huge step forward. We're going to have some more footage of him in Heat 3 and the final. Brad was just really, really dominant today. We're going to go for the normal racing line here. We're going to try all the way around the outside of Tim Kansas. We've got more grip on the normal racing line. Tim's on our right-hand side here. We're going to push Alex Van Gien forward because we've got the momentum and we have made the place up there. And so that's another place up. Alex Van Gien next up, and we're just getting a little bit of slipstream from him there. I think just there, Russell Endine is just coming back at us. Yeah, we're not able to turn in. If we turned in, we'd be turning ourselves around. So I think Russell is just on our inside. That has dropped us back a little bit from Alex, hasn't it? We've dropped back a few kart lengths. But one interesting thing sometimes when you drop back from a driver in front, not all the time, but sometimes, it almost encourages them, because they're not having to defend or not having to think about defending, it almost encourages them to go for a move, and it can even slow them down a little bit. But we've got some work to do to get back up to this pack here. We take some good speed into turn 1 and we get a clean exit from turn 2, and now we're going to be up the inside of Alex. We've got track position for the left-hander, so that's a good move done there. And this is what I was saying, you sometimes you drop back as we just give Alex a little bit of racing room on the inside there. It's not sensible just to turn in. Now we've got Tom Stalker up ahead of us now, but again we've just got a couple of kart lengths. We're going to take some fairly decent speed through this chicane, but I have to say this chicane is an area where I was overdriving. I was wondering a little bit as we close in on the brakes. I was wondering a little bit if I was running the wrong sprocket. Tom Purchase on the left-hand side. We weren't. I'm going to push Tom Stalker through because he's got the inside line. Unfortunately, I'm not quite able to get through on myself as well. And that's an unfortunate one. Tom's going to go defensive now up the left-hand side. I really love racing with Tom Purchase. If you do manage to overtake him, you know that you've been in a battle. Unfortunately, when Tom went defensive there, we were slightly compromised, and Russell Endine in the 16 has just got past us. So that's a bad mistake from me there. Really unfortunate that I've dropped a place, because as we were saying before, Russell is not going to be an easy guy to get past. He's very, very quick, one of the front runners. Anyway, what can we do here? You see here, just here, they're beginning to gap me on this straight. I think I'm probably... Well, a couple of things are happening here. I'm overheating my rear tyres and my rear grip's not very good. Russell gets through. We're in Tom's slipstream. Space opens up on the inside and we're going to go through. We're in control at the apex and we give Tom space on the outside. We go all the way around the outside there. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of contact between us, and Tom ended up then losing it on the inside curb. So, never good to see someone spinning. I did go and see Tom after that, but I think from my point of view, it's an absolutely legitimate move to make. If I pulled out of that one alongside when I was on the inside, I may as well have gone home. But of course, never good to see a fellow competitor spinning around. So we did go and see Tom after that, and make sure he felt all okay about it. We're up now against Rich Melton Baxter, Mango Mate Rich, in the beautiful Gillard there in the 27 with his chocolate helmet. Anyway, what can we do here now? This series is still pretty new, isn't it? It's kind of less than a year old. We don't have a full year, I suppose I should say, under our belts yet, and so we're kind of all experimenting a little bit with setups and with tyres and with widths and things like that, stiffness in our chassis. And Rich actually was experimenting with slightly higher tyre pressures than he would normally run, and I think the idea was that was going to give him a good start. Unfortunately, it is just massively overheating his tyres. We go for the move up the inside, but there's yellow flags, and so we have to back out. We've got, just on the left-hand side, we had someone's front bumper discarded, so marshals out on the track that need to go and recover that. That's terrible news for us, though, because whilst we are battling with Rich, the three ahead of us are going to be making some headway. And you see there, I'm just caught out by the fact that Rich just isn't able to carry the same amount of speed as someone picks up a load of dust on the exit of Spoon Corner. Rich just isn't able to carry the same amount of speed through through some of these corners as a result of his tyres overheating. But we're right underneath his rear bumper now. We pull out. Obviously, we don't get much in the way of any slipstream, but we have got a slightly better exit, and we're going to have to think carefully about this. If we brake too late, which is just going to cut back at us, but we managed to make it work. Unfortunately, look at the gap ahead of us now. These heats are 8 minutes plus 1 lap long, and we've already had, I would say, maybe 6-7 minutes of fun. So are we going to be able to catch up to the three ahead? Maybe. It's going to be a big ask. It's going to be a very big ask, that, isn't it? But if they start fighting, if they start battling, they might drop towards us ever so slightly. I think it's going to be a tough ask, though. But what I was saying earlier about the kart setup and everything, I am running a much wider width than I previously had been, and just there, can you see, like, that's a really good example. I was just too hot through that chicane. It's going to cost me time all the way down that straight, it's just been. It was just quite a tricky weekend. With the rear of my kart. I'd much prefer to have a little bit of understeer and and drive around that than to have to drive around oversteer. Obviously, you don't want either, do you? I don't particularly want an understeery kart, but I'm personally, I'd rather have a stable rear and a slightly understeery kart than the other way around. At Hooton, like I said, the thing was absolutely on rails. It was beautiful to drive. It was so nice. But yeah, here we're just suffering from a little bit of oversteer. The start of the lap, I was really competitive in. So from this point here, actually, so I was good into the braking and here, good rotation on the kart. As the last lap board comes out, we're good into turns 1 and 2. And decent into, well, I don't know if this is a corner or not, but I mean it's easy flat. We were decent enough into this corner as well. It's down the back end of the circuit. We weren't particularly quick around this corner here. Spoon curve. No idea if it's actually called spoon curve. That's what we're going to go with though. You'll see that I'm turning in quite early to this one here as well. I found that there was a little bit more grip on the inside. The really fast guys weren't doing that, but I think the really fast guys had a little bit more confidence in the rear of their kart. I was definitely overdriving through the chicane there, costing myself loads of time down this straight, and then there we are. We did go from P17 to P8. Not too bad a return, and we're going to start Heat 2 now in P7. Now the O-plate holder Brad Philpott, who's been absolutely rapid today, is starting right ahead of us. They go really early, then they brake, and then they go again. Actually, I got left behind, but in actual fact, as I had to accelerate in order to catch up with them. By the time the lights went out, lights on the top left-hand side, they went out. I was actually doing some quite good speed, so I managed to push the pole side along. Tim Kansas on our left-hand side. The space opens up. We give Tim space on the outside of the circuit, make sure that we don't run him off. This is a friendly series, and we're actually up into P3 with Brad Philpott and Tom Butler ahead of us. Now, Brad and Tom have gapped us slightly as we were taking a slightly unorthodox line out of the spoon curve, but if we can, then it'll be really, really great to try and get into Brad's slipstream. I'm having to defend early doors though. We've got some very fast drivers behind us. Brad makes the move on Tom for the lead. We've closed the gap ever so slightly, but there's people all over my bumper as well. And just there, you might be able to see him. That's Jacob Sharrock, who put a move up the inside of us. I'd really like to try and move forward at this point and go towards the lead battle. Unfortunately, there's Jacob again. He's just up our inside. And then there's Matt Roberts. And that's going to cause us loads of problems as well. We have to take a very shallow line in the entry to the spoon curve. Now it's actually going to be Russell Endine who's up our inside. He's done us twice today. Not happy with that. And because I was out of position, we can't turn in, and Matt Roberts is there as well. So we had a good start, but not a good end to the end of lap 2. We are right in Matt's slipstream now, though. Matt goes for the move on Russell. We're going to brake relatively early and try and cut back and see if we can take that place back from one of them at least. Russell's on the left-hand side. Russell's got some good momentum, but we have track position, and we managed to make the move up into, what are we here, P6, back into P6. And we're right behind Matt Roberts. Now, this... Is it P6? No, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. P5. Now, I'm pretty keen to work with Matt at this stage because you can see that as and when you fight, you do lose quite a lot of time. I know that Matty is very, very quick as well. So if I can just stay with him until we can catch up to Tom Butler and then possibly the lead battle, although they are disappearing pretty quickly. Then that will be pretty good. Again, you can see I'm overdriving through the chicane, but we do have some good speed into the heavy braking zone of the final chicane. Just very, very keen though, like I said, to work with Matt, push him forward, and Tom Butler in the 11 car ahead of Matt is getting ever so slightly closer. Up front, Brad and Jacob are having a little battle with each other, so that's good news for us as well. It means that they're not just disappearing, and just like last lap, still really, really content to sit behind Matt and work with him, not fight him. Of course, there is Russell Endine, who is going to be behind us as well, but obviously at this stage I'm not feeling the need to defend too much, so I don't know how far he is behind. I can't really remember. Matt goes for a move up the inside of Tom. I had poor drive on the exit of that corner, so I wasn't able to follow him. Tom Butler is able to come back at Matt though and retain his place, but after a couple of laps of not fighting, Matt and I are very, very well placed now to go and make a move on Tom. Matt says let's work together. Happy to do that at the moment. Matt goes for another move up the inside of Tom, and then he cuts back at Tom. Doesn't quite work out this time. Good defending from Tom Butler there. I push Matt forward again, back into the battle. Let's see if we can do anything in the next available overtaking spot, which is going to be right down the bottom end. Oh, again, look at that. It's so frustrating to watch this overdriving now that I can't do anything about it. Anyway, we have got the slipstream. We're going to push Matt through. He's the one on the inside, and we're going to make the move up as well. We give Tom a little bit of space so we don't force him off onto that curb, and he is equally as respectful by giving us space into turn 1 and 2. You can get 2 karts through there. We've been doing it all day. Lots of people have been doing it all day. And so we're back up into P4 now. The 2 ahead are a little bit further ahead now, aren't they? They've settled down because they obviously don't want Matt and myself getting too close to them as well. It's much, much easier to have a battle with 2 rather than a battle with 3. If you're the meat in in a three-way sandwich, then it's going to be a nightmare. But again, there, look at that. Absolutely terrible. I cost myself loads and loads of time through that chicane, and it's just a matter of overdriving, I think. I would also say, because my rear is, someone's been naughty, getting a warning flag. I would also say that because my rear is not as sticky as I'm kind of expecting it to be and hoping it to be, and my front is doing very nicely, as we're sort of thinking about going around the outside of Matt, though that's never going to work. But yeah, managing to stick with Matt at this stage. My rear is going to let go. One other thing that I was going to talk about was tyre pressures. Now, up until this point, I've kind of gone with pretty much exactly the same tyre pressures for every round and not really thought too much about them, putting a little bit more air in the rears than the fronts. Now, actually, this weekend was the first time when I actually experimented with tyre pressures in any meaningful kind of way, and I did find that by the final, where I was certainly at my quickest all day, the changing of tyre pressures was really, really valuable. I'm going to have to do, again, a lot more work to try and work out how the tyre pressures are affecting the handling. But you can see just here, it's going to be the same in Heat 3 as well. Towards the end of these heats, I'm beginning to lose loads and loads of time. And I think that a large part of that, in an already oversteery kart, is that the rear tyres were beginning to overheat. Yeah, I mean, my driving's not really helping things either there, is it? But like I said before, when you've got a kart which is oversteering, it is then very easy to overdrive it. We just take a hit there because Tom Butler and Russell Endine are still right behind us, and that's delayed us. And Matt has been able, all of a sudden, to join the fight for P1, and we have not, have we? We've lost out. It was my poor driving in the latter half of the last lap, and then a small hit on the rear which just delayed us slightly, and some overheating rears which have all of a sudden really prevented us from following Matt into the fight. We were quite comfortable following Matt around up until this point, but in the dying moments of this heat, we are nowhere near. So yeah, again, something to think about. We're learning things every time. We are now having to defend. We're going very defensive from the guys behind. Not a lot of time left in this heat, I wouldn't have thought. But it's all kicking off up front. Jacob Sharrock's in the lead at the moment. Brad Philpott in second, and Matt Roberts very much in the fight now as well in third spot. Jacob doing everything he can to keep Brad behind. Brad's now got a real problem because it's not just attacking Jacob, but he's also got to make sure that he doesn't do anything to compromise the second place he currently has. He doesn't want to go for a move and then end up third. He doesn't want to go for a move for the lead and end up third. That's going to be a disaster for him, as we again take completely the wrong line. I'm sorry, I know I'm saying it over and over again. It's just painful to watch, isn't it? There's definitely sort of a couple of tenths through the well, not necessarily through the chicane. We're probably going through the chicane quite quickly, but we're definitely losing tenths down that straight by getting the exit completely wrong. We are on the last lap now. Jacob Sharrock is still in the lead. He's managed to hold Brad Philpott and his mate Matt Roberts off so far. So far so good. But Brad goes up the inside. Good move there, and Jacob is forced out to was forced to concede that one. That's a really important move for Brad Philpott, because other than the heavy braking zone into the hairpin, there's not a lot of other overtaking opportunities here. I'm obviously far too far back to benefit from any of this, and I'm far more concerned at this stage about what's going on behind me. Obviously you can't see it, but I'm going very defensive. Brad Philpott goes very defensive as well, makes sure that there's no opportunity. The two young men from Lancaster go for the cutback, but it's no good. Brad wins that one. Jacob Matty, and then myself went from P7 to P4. Really, really good racing up until, for me at least, up until the last few laps where my pace just completely dropped off. Next up, Alex Van Gien on pole, Connor Botting in second. We're third, and Connor gets a great start, actually. Look at that in the 113 kart. They just rub together ever so slightly, and that gives me just a little bit more momentum, and I'm able to go around the outside of Connor. And now at this stage, I'm really, really happy to push Alex forward, pushing him away from the rest of the pack. Like I alluded to in the last heat, it's much, much easier to have a one-on-one battle with a kart, as we get a better exit here, and with the help of a bit of slipstream, we're able to get back through Alex. Alex, excuse me, is able to take more speed through that corner there, but we're about to get some excellent slipstream. We don't overdrive this time. We're just going to push Alex down this straight, push him away from the rest of the field. We're going to back off early and then go to the left-hand side, which is the normal racing line. Alex just overcooks it ever so slightly, and whilst I was very, very happy to work with Alex, like I said, and push him away from the field, benefit from his slipstream, and then help him in return by bump drafting him along. If an opportunity arises to take the lead and take a position away, then really it's going to be very important to take it. If you don't take the opportunity, then another one might not show up anytime soon. So we are into the lead here, but of course now we're going to be giving Alex and all those behind a great big tow. You saw the power of the tow a couple of moments ago, didn't you, when we were racing just behind Alex. We're going to be providing that tow now. I'm just going to move to the middle slightly just to try and break that tow if I can, but not feeling the need to defend too heavily there. We're going to skip it forward a little bit because obviously it's only a front-facing camber. There's not much to see, so we skip it forward a few laps. And at this point here, we're going to see Brad Philpott, and we're going to see George Massey, who are up the inside. So we've lost 2 places there. We're going to push George Massey through, who's on the inside, and we go back up the inside of 1. And again, we're going to push George through. Now I'm getting some slipstream from George. It would be good to try and see if we can push George away from Brad, because Brad is very, very quick, and if we can put some distance between ourselves and him, then we will. But Brad's on our left-hand side. I wasn't able to move across to take the normal racing line, and I was right behind George, so I had to kind of back off a little bit early as well, or risk running into the back of him if he broke a little bit early. And the wise old fox, Brad Philpott, kind of boxed me in there. I wasn't able to move to the left, and then he was able to brake at a point of his choosing with no one ahead of him, and then cut back, and he's done me there. But that's very, very good racing, very smart, very intelligent racing there. Now, can I stay with these guys or not? Again, just through this section here, that right-hander there, my rear was dancing all over the place. I've seen some footage of myself from others. Actually, Alex and Brad both have footage out, so go and check their videos out if you want another perspective. Brad's on the inside, so we're going to push him through this time, and Brad does make the move. We cut back and see if we can take George on the exit, but George is on our left-hand side, and there he is. He doesn't turn in on us, so very, very good racing there. He goes all the way around the outside of 1, which gives him the inside to 2. So excellent job there, and he's maintained his position. I say excellent job. I'm not happy that he's retained his position. I'm very, very angry with this, but he's done a great job in not turning in, being really respectful, and he's also the racing gods have smiled upon him by choosing not to have an accident, choosing not to have any contact at all. His momentum has been really saved. So anyway, we're right behind him again. We're going to be getting some slipstream. We're going to push him back towards Brad, because I'm a greedy little sod, and I'm hoping as much as possible, even though I don't quite have the pace today, I'm hoping to be in the fight for the lead as much as I possibly can. The lady with the last lap board out comes out. This is not very good English, is it? The last lap board is out. Actually, if I'd known that it was the penultimate lap, then I perhaps would have attacked George into the hairpin. There's really not very many places available left to do that. And again, we've not had a good lap. We've had a whole load of oversteer in the first half of that lap, and look how far behind we are George now. We've really messed it up for ourselves. And again, I was dropping rear pressures all throughout the day, and I was getting steadily quicker and quicker, more and more competitive. But it's not there yet, is it? We spent most of the heat in the lead. We had a good little battle with these guys for a lap or two, but yeah, by the end of the lap, by the end of the heat, we were again just suffering from terrible oversteer and not able. We had absolutely no response in the last couple of laps. So we dropped our rear tyre pressures again. We're starting in P5. Into the first corner. This is the final now. Brad Philpott in the lead. He was on pole. Jacob Sharrock second. We got Matty Roberts there. And thank you to Tim Kansas's mum, who has provided the footage, the outboard footage of this opening lap. And look at the quality, the depth of that field. It's an excellent viewing point as well, as you can see a whole host of the track from there. Spectators are going wild. Anyway, we're back. Russell Endine, who we were battling with earlier in the day, is just on our left-hand side. He started one place ahead of us, actually, and we've just about managed to get past him. So Russell was starting P4, I was starting P5, but we're up into P4 now, and again, because of the little fight that Russell and I had, we were side by side into sort of turns 3 and 4. It's cost us a little bit of time, and as is tradition with me today, I've overdriven and got a nasty slide on the exit of the chicane. But because the chaps in front are having a little fight, we haven't caused ourselves too much damage, or they've given me an opportunity just to bring myself back into it a little bit and into the braking point, into the horseshoe. We have again just closed the gap slightly. Grass clippings being thrown up everywhere. That means that someone's been off a little bit on the grass, and just as before, I feel like I've spent most of this season right behind Matt Roberts. I do seem to be following him around quite a lot. I'm getting, frankly, a little bit sick of seeing the back of him. I'd like to be seeing the side and the front of him at some point, and I'm going to work really hard to try and make that work, make that happen. But Jacob Sharrock now is in the lead. He's made the move on Brad Philpott, so it's Jacob, Brad, Matt, and then myself. I didn't actually know this at the time, but because Access Karting have done such, and GX-UK Senior has been such a fantastic, has such a fantastic size of grid, there are trophies now all the way down to 5th place. So as Matt taps the back of his head and says, let's move forward together, don't let the top two get away, I take him up on the offer. That's actually very naughty. You're not allowed to take your hands off the wheel in GX-UK Senior. And so when we round this bend, we might see that Matt, or maybe not this lap, but the next lap, I think Matt is actually going to get a warning for taking his hands off the wheel, but no harm done anyway. So I didn't know this at the time, actually, but I am kind of in the potential for a pot. I certainly don't deserve one, given the way I approached this weekend, the drunken antics that took place on Friday night and Saturday. I don't think that's how Formula One drivers prepare for their races. I don't think that's in their plan. Maybe Raikkonen. Anyway, one other thing that's worth knowing is that the circuit actually had a technical difficulty during the day. The Wi-Fi went down, and they were unable to track lap positions, and that did cause a delay. So lunchtime was extended slightly, but this final is going to be half length. It's going to be 6 minutes rather than the usual 12. Normally the heats are 8 minutes plus a lap. There's Matt's warning. So the Oh, and actually, as George Massey just has a look up our inside. We don't turn in. We can't turn in because George is right there. But again, I'm very, very concerned about George taking away my 4th spot at the moment. Perhaps a little bit more concerned than I am about taking Matty Roberts' 3rd place off him. But yeah, if I can get back up to the back of Matt, then that's going to be of benefit to me because I obviously get a little bit of slipstream. But yeah, this final is going to be half length, so it's going to be really important if an opportunity to make a move does come that we make it immediately. Because we are not going to have the luxury of time this time around. Good aggressive braking into the final hairpin, and someone else has been a little bit naughty further back in the pack. Got a warning for them as well. I have to say, the quality and behaviour and attitude of the drivers on this grid on the whole is really, really good. Everyone obviously pays for their own equipment, so if you want to be an idiot and turn in on people, and as George gets up the inside of me there, and again, we can't turn in. He's got his nose up the inside, can't turn in. We're only going to turn ourselves around. So can we respond to George Massey? Actually, the other thing that I was going to say, I'll just finish my previous point. If you want to turn in on people, if you want to cause accidents, then you're only going to be repairing your own equipment. So people tend not to. People tend to behave very, very well. Anyway, George Massey in the 55 is going to have the fastest lap in this final. I think Brad Philpott got the fastest lap of the day earlier on in the day, but if you want to see some really, really good lines in this final at least, having said that, George just gets the braking into turn 2 a little bit wrong there, so perhaps it's not this lap that he puts his fastest lap in, but he does get the fastest lap in this final. So he is a good person to have a look at. We go again for the wider entry for a better exit. Doesn't come off, does it? The amount of time that we lose by going wide on the entry, we don't gain on the exit. So again, that's worth knowing for next year. We probably better to take a slightly tighter line in there. We are up close to George this time, though. We are benefiting a tad from a little bit of slipstream, but it's not enough. We've got yellow flags around here. We've got a car off on our left-hand side. Someone has come a cropper and pulled off on the left-hand side. Again, the top 2 have just broken away slightly. There's about a 1.5 second gap between Brad Philpott in 1st and myself in 5th. So it's still very, 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 very close. As again, we haven't learned from last lap, have we? We're not getting the benefit, although actually we are getting a much better run through this short straight this time. There is now a reasonably good sized gap between myself in 5th and the other karts behind. By the end of this final, there's about a 5 second gap. There's 1.5 seconds between the top 5, and then I think it was about a 5 second gap back. So I think the rest of the field are having an epic battle of their own just behind, and that is the finish there. So a great little battle. I was definitely quicker in the final than I had been for the rest of the day, but huge congratulations to everyone. I want to say huge congratulations to literally everyone in the whole field, because it was a huge field. Brad Philpott wins the event. He really dominated, so well done to him. Jacob and Matty, again, quick as always, as they always are. But really, I think George Massey has made the biggest step forward, massive improvement. So huge congratulations to him as well. Now, again, I was going to say at this point, really, really unaware, but I would be up on the podium. But first of all, huge congratulations to Ben, who is off novice plates now. He won the novice championship there. And here's the podium. There we are. Brad Philpott winning, Jacob 2nd, Matty 3rd, George 4th, myself 5th, a very undeserving pot. And then in the middle, like I said, we've got Ben, who won the novices and will be up at the big boys next time around. See you at Clay.
Thanks for watching Llandow Motorsport, a community for racing fanatics.